So there was this monastery in India, and on this particular day, the guru was teaching the sadhu, the students. And as he was teaching them, he was talking about the art of letting go. And the students listened and listened and listened. They finally said, "Master, what if there are a few things that we really just want to hold on to, that we don't want to let go at this time?" And the guru looked at him and said, "Well, I guess the best way for you to do it is we'll do a demonstration. We'll do a practical practice with that." And he said, "Over here, you'll notice there are potatoes. I want you to take a potato, and I want you to write the name of the person in the potato with a knife. And you can take as many potatoes as you want, as many people as you don't want to let go of, or things you don't want to let go of, and I want you to put it into your backpack. And then I want you to carry that backpack with you everywhere." Well, the students felt, well, that's pretty cool. I can handle it this way. I can keep my issues. I don't have to deal with them, and I'll do that. So lo and behold, every day, wherever they went, they had the backpack on. 1 day went by, 2 days went by, 3 days went by. It started to smell. Potatoes that have been carved into start to rot, don't they? A week goes by, and all of a sudden they go, "Master, these potatoes smell. We don't want to carry them around anymore." And the master said, "And what is the lesson?" They got it. They said the potatoes represented those things that we refuse to let go of. And the master said, "And what does the sack represent?" The sack represents your mind. So when you hold on to things that are bringing you down, that are holding you back, and you keep them there, and you think you can separate them, you're really not, because you're toxifying your mind. Your mind starts to smell of that which you're holding on to. And so this idea of letting go is an idea of freedom. It's an idea that allows us to be free of the bondage that we've been building into our lives and holding on. So I want to talk about letting go. I sat down in meditation the other day, and all these points came to me because there's so many things that we can let go of that we just don't think about. So we're going to look at it, and we're going to talk about first letting go of the past. Because when you think about the past is things that have happened. And when we hold on to those things, what are we doing? We're locking ourselves into the past. We're locking ourselves into that energetic, into that perspective, into repeating what we did over and over again, because the past represents a consciousness. And it's not until that we can take our lesson from the past and neutralize whatever that past is. The past represents for me the idea of forgiveness. And for me, forgiveness is the ability to bring into balance that which we felt was hurtful, to seeing the benefits of it and realizing that there is no good, there is no bad, but there is always a balance. But it's opening up our perspective to seeing the balance that we can come to that inner sense of peace. So forgiveness is a practice of freedom. Here's the next one. We've got to let go of our judgment that we're not enough. We understand at Agape really clearly that what we teach is that there is an infinite power, an infinite presence that radiates in and through and as all things, and we are an individualization of that power, and everything of that power is created in us so that we are a demonstration of love. We are a demonstration of peace. We are a demonstration of abundance. We are a demonstration of health. And when we can embody that truth, there's no longer need to judge, and there is no longer need to compare. When I did a talk the other day to a networking group, and we talked about this idea of relationships, and I really came down because what ruins most relationships is this idea of comparison, and we know that comparison is the death of joy. Because when you think about it, if you're a unique, whole, and perfect expression of God, and this person here is a unique, whole, and perfect expression of God, why would you compare yourself to them? You are a unique, whole, and perfect expression of God. Look at the other person. See the beauty of who they are. See the magnificence of how God is showing up as them. Appreciate that and be you. This is the gift. Be you. That's the person you want to be in this world. Next, you got to let go of the future. If you're sitting here thinking about, well, it's going to get better when I do this. When I do this, this is going to happen. When I do that, that's going to happen. You are now imprisoning yourself into something that's not happening, and what you're sacrificing by looking to the future is you're sacrificing the now. And when you sacrifice the now, it's not good. It's just not good, because the now is all you've got. It's all you've got. You don't have the future. I wasn't going to tell this story, but I'm going to. So, my father and I have had a unique relationship all of our lives. And I've gotten to know my dad, and I realized that my dad is a different consciousness than I am, and that type of thing. And my dad, I'll be with him during the week next week, because he's starting to slide in memory. He's 90 and a half. His health is not very well in that. And so I was trying to make arrangements to make his life better, to help support him by allowing nurses to come in and helpers to come in to help him do things he can't do. He's immobile. He's got a lot of health issues. So anyway, the person was telling me, and she says, we didn't want to tell you this, but we thought it was very important that you hear this. And she said, yeah, your father went in to visit his best friend who lives next door in the apartment next to him, and he went in to visit Phil. Now I want you to picture, my father can't walk anymore, so he gets up from this lift chair, and he gets himself into this little scooter. So he goes from lift chair to scooter, and then he goes and he scoots over to Phil's place, right? He goes into Phil's place, and he starts talking to Phil. He needs some help. And Phil says, Steve, don't you think you should put your pants on? And my dad goes, well, I am dressed. And all of a sudden, one of the healthcare people come by, and they look at my dad, and they said, Steve, let's get you back to your room. My father had nothing on from the waist down. Nothing on. That is the consciousness of where I can look to the future and see what could possibly be happening to my dad, or am I going to center myself in this moment and fully appreciate the moment? And I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, I could not stop laughing. I got in bed that night, and I just laughed, and I couldn't fall asleep. Oh my God, that picture's now ingrained in my mind. Ooh, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Now, I don't want that to be the last picture I have of my dad, but it could very well be. But the point of the matter is when I'm with my dad, I've got to be there with him now. Despite the health conditions, despite anything going on with him, it's about being in the now, not going back to the past to what he was or what our relationship was, or going to the future, but being right here now, because he's whole and perfect, expressing without pants. The next thing we've got to let go of is we've got to let go of our attachment. And we are attached to things. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. We are attached to how we look. We're attached to who we're with. We're attached to what we possess. We're attached to how we believe people should think. Think about, again, if you are a whole, unique, and perfect expression of God, it means you're infinite, that everything you desire and need will come to you at the moment you desire it, at the moment it's right. You don't need to feel attached to anything. A lot of people, you'll find, they're attached to their money. It's a great example. When you're attached to your money, you're saying to the universe, I am not enough. There's not enough for me. So I hoard my money instead of using your money in a stewardship fashion and circulating it like we circulate our energy. Because we're not going, when we die, the only thing that leaves, that goes anywhere, is the soul, this aspect of God, the oneness, the uniqueness of God, this expression, the body, the material. It falls away because it's not real. What's real is that which lasts for eternity. The next thing we've got to let go of is the how. So many times we're in our lives and we want certain things, and what we forget to understand is that the power that is within us, that knows how to create, knows everything. So it knows an infinite way to do anything, where in our human mind we may only be able to see one or two ways. And if we settle and we try to determine what's the how going to be, then we're limiting the power within us, and we may not get it because we've limited it. But when we surrender into the idea that the power and presence within us will give us the sum total of where our mind is, our conscious thought, our unconscious thought is, and we get it, we don't worry about the how. We live as if it is already done. We let go of the how. The how is not important, but doesn't mean we don't take action steps. We're always moving in the direction of our dream. We're always taking steps toward that direction. It's part of who we are. Prayer is the speaking of the word, the feeling of the word, and acting on the word. You have to have the action with prayer to make it work. Next thing, you got to let go of being right. How many people here like to be right? Raise your hands, every single person in this room. There isn't one that doesn't want to be right. The problem is that when we're right, it stops us from learning. You see, every time we go and we talk to someone and we want to be right with that person, we forget one simple thing. They're not looking at what we want them to see through our eyes. They're looking through their eyes. And their eyes come from a completely different background, completely different paradigm, completely different spectrum. And there's no way they will see it the way we see it. So we're invested in this idea of being right. We're setting ourselves up for a life of conflict and inner misery because we have to be in control. We don't have to be in control. We just have to be uniquely us. We've got to let go of the idea that we're doing this alone. And this is about connection. And it's not just connection with others. For me, it's becoming the connection to that thing that in the East they call samadhi. In the West, we call the Christ consciousness, or it could be the Buddha consciousness, the Krishna consciousness. It could be just tapping in and conscious with nature. But realizing that the ego and the body have caused us to see things as if we're separate. But the truth is we're not separate. We're one. We're all connected at the very core of everything we are. Here's the next one. It has to be done right now. I think about all of my life. I can remember being in the corporate world for 32 years. And I can remember all the times that people came to me and told me, this has to be done right now. Right now. And I want you to know today, none of that mattered. It was all fictitious. So we don't have to be attached to it. We have to understand that there are deadlines and we have to work within it. But when we build our foundation that we have a false sense of urgency. How many times have you created a false sense of urgency if you have children, with your children cleaning their room? Boy, did I do that. It's got to be clean now. Why? Because I said so. Well, why? You ever get that? And there's a little dude in the back, Liam. He's a little dude, but when he gets two, everything you're going to say is going to go why? Because he wants his freedom or she wants her freedom. That's all we ever want. But we're being brought into, well, you have to meet my needs, and my needs are now. That happens in relationships. So many times, one of the partners will say, I want this and I want it right now. And you create this artificial deadline, and a lot of times those deadlines end relationships. You're forcing someone to do something they don't want. Here's another one. We've got to let go of the struggle and inner resistance. We've got to come to the idea that there's an infinite power and presence that's within us that is always leading us one thought, one step, one action at a time toward that which we desire. And when we do that, we realize there's no need to struggle here. There's no need to have fear about this. There's just a need to trust, to have faith that that divine presence within you will guide you. And I promise you, if you're alive today, it's been guiding you all this time. So why not know it's there and let it be your guide? And here's the big one. Letting go of the self. This is probably the hardest of all. Because what I'm coming to understand is that for most of us, the self is all we know. And it's not the capital S, it's the little s. It's the ego self. It's the mind that wants to have it a specific way. It's the mind that thinks it should be a certain way, how it should happen. The mind that has a personality. It is the mind that is attached to the body. The mind and the body have taken over, and they have masked the big S, the big self, the infinite part of who you are. And no matter how much you do, and this is what I'm coming to understand really clearly, as I meditate more and more and more, and I go into that state, and I find those moments when I'm in that state of samadhi where I no longer have a mind, I no longer have a body, but I'm part of something so much greater, and I go, yeah, I got it. The second I say, oh yeah, I got it, I'm back into little s. See, when you think you've got it, that's the little self. It's not the big self. The big self doesn't care. The big self just is. And you realize in this human form, what happens is, no matter how much we experience the big self, we're always being drawn back into this plane of existence, this dimension that we live in, which is the little self. And so we go on this journey of moving in to consciousness and moving out of consciousness. Moving in and out of consciousness and out of consciousness. But you see, here's the key. We weren't meant to be here to be totally enlightened. When we're not in our physical body, we're enlightened. We came into physical body to experience life. And so we're here to have that experience, to be present with that experience, and to feel, okay, how is my experience coming to me? And what more do I desire? What more do I want to feel? Who can I become that is greater than I am right now? You see, that experience is there. The emotions are there, guiding and directing us toward that which is desiring to seek and express itself. And when we're not on the path, the emotions are negative. And when we're on the path, the emotions are positive. And if we stop, we listen, we let go of what we think we want, and we allow the inner being to just guide. Close your eyes with me. And let's go on a journey. Picture yourself in a hot air balloon, just you. And you're going and you're about 5 feet off the air. And you want to go higher. But there's your mother. And she's hanging on to the side of the bag, holding the bag down. And you decide to say, Mom, I love you. I'm letting you go. And your mother lets go. And all of a sudden, the balloon goes up to 6 feet. And now there's your father on the other side. And this is what your father represents. And you say, Dad, I love you. Thank you for being in my life. I understand that you brought me here to experience life. Thank you for all the lessons. I'm letting you go. Now, there's probably a dozen people hanging on to the back of that basket who have hurt you. In some form or fashion in your life have hurt you. Look at them and say, I know this wasn't personal. This was just a blind expression that was not connected to life itself. And I realized that my experiencing of it was for the purpose of me being non-attached to it. So I let go of it. And I let go of you. And the balloon rises. You're now 100 feet in the air. And now you notice that there's this huge trunk hanging from a rope from the basket of the balloon. And in this trunk is your own self-image and self-judgment. I am not enough. I'm not handsome enough. I'm not pretty enough. My body is not enough. My job is not enough. I am not enough to be loved in the world. My relationships are not what I want it to be. And you realize this isn't the truth either. And so you reach over and you take the machete that's right next to you and you just start chopping on that rope. And you're saying to yourself, I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. And all of a sudden, that basket of all that self-judgment falls. And all of a sudden, that balloon ascends to 1,000 feet in the air. And all of a sudden, you look down and you see the magnificence. You see the mountains. You see the ocean. You see the perfection of all life. And that perfection has always been there. And all we did was let go. So I now go and I give thanks. I give thanks at this moment. Because in this moment, we have let go of everything. There is nothing holding us back any longer. We are now free to be uniquely, perfectly as we choose. And the power within us now resides and raises itself up as we all come to a place of gratitude. And that gratitude starts to form. And it starts in our toes. And it moves up into our ankles. It moves up into our legs, up into our hips, into our abdomen. That gratitude moves up into the shoulders and the arms and the fingers, up through the neck. And the gratitude now begins to come into the full head. So the whole body is vibrating in a state of gratitude. And in that state, pure peace fills our heart. And that heart that has been afraid to be hurt, no longer fears. And it opens. And it continues to open until it is so open that love is exuding in it and coming back to it. And this is the feeling of connection and love that we have so sought. And so we go within and we bless it again. For we see our truth, we know our truth, and we now live that truth as if it has always been there. And in that, we affirm it with one voice, assuring beyond a doubt that it is done. And we say together, and so it is.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.